Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is self validation Friday. Good morning. Good morning. It's self validation Friday. We are coming to the end of not just this week, but this series on how to elevate your mindset. And it's all about how to rise. So I'm going to ask you this question on this morning. My question for you on this morning is, what belief are you choosing today that aligns with your future, not your fear? Okay. What belief are you choosing to align with your future, not your fear? I want you to either write it down on a notebook. You can drop it in the comments, right? Either way, just be truthful. Let's be true. You're not pretending, you're progressing, all right? So I want you to join me for this conversation as we wrap up the Rise series, right? The Rise series. Listen, you've been living on survival. We all have, right? Been living a survival story written, right, from our survival background, okay? But if the next chapter of your life doesn't require, good morning, Mariah, good morning. But what if the next chapter of your life doesn't require struggle? It requires divinity. It requires some like spirituality and some true like inner work, okay? Listen, today's life lesson is really a call, right? Not to who you were, but the person that you're becoming, all right? So we're rewriting this inner narrative, right? We're silencing or, understanding this inner critic, right? And we're speaking to your power, not your past, all right? And I think that this is so powerful because the more I live, I was just this morning as I was preparing, I was thinking like, who taught us that you should know everything? And I think the most generous people and the most kind people that I've met were the people who allowed me to make mistakes, right? Who just gave me permission to make the blunder, right? Like, oh, well, okay, that's okay. We're gonna get it right. Okay, well, you made a mistake, right? It was just this sense of, I don't know, relief. In the most stressful situations or relationships I was in was the people who expected me to know everything, right? And what I realized was those people who, when I made mistakes or I didn't get it right, right? What I realized is that I created a narrative of who I was based off of their defense mechanism. So what I'm saying is, just say I did something wrong and it triggered something in them or it aggravated them, because they wasn't truly healed or matured, right? They projected that aggravation off on me as if I should have known better, I should have did better, I should have, all of the shoulds, right? Which gave me an image of inadequacy. Well, I don't know because this person feel like I should know, right? If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat, right? And so for years and years, I felt like I was playing this life of catch up because I should know better. I should have known not to do that. And then in some way, I got introduced to some wise people, right? And I would make a mistake and they would just be like, well, who taught you? It's okay, right? Like, you don't need to know that, right? And it was just like this sense of relief, like, oh, I do get permission to make mistakes. And I think that this is what the rise is about. It's really about, this week was about really just embracing the fact that, one, who taught you? And a lot of the narratives that you have right now is because somebody else couldn't manage. A big part of it is that they didn't have good emotional management skills. So when you made a mistake when you were a little kid and you did something that you was just curious about or did something, right? They made you feel like you should have known better. And they did it so well. I mean, you got a whooping for it, you got a punishment for it. Right now, I'm not saying that we didn't go back and do some stuff that we know we shouldn't have done and that we didn't get whooped for some things that we know that we ought not have done now, okay? That's a whole nother thing. But it is some genuine things that you were just curious about, that you just had an investigative mind about, right? All up until adulthood, that when you did something because of how it made someone else feel, they projected that off onto you, right? And it made you feel like you had to play catch up because either you didn't know, right? You felt this way or whatever, right? So we're not speaking to that. We're not speaking to that past. We're speaking to this power, this person you're becoming. So this session is for you. Um, who is done really explaining your growth, right? And ready just to embody life. All right. No more shrinking to stay relatable, right? No more repeating the old chapters just because they're familiar. All right. We're gonna stretch ourselves this next season. And we're gonna feel the discomfort because why? Because we know we have a support partner in that, and who is that support partner? Dr. She Little, okay, in this community of individuals who are looking to what? Expand. And we already know that expansion comes with a level of what? A level of vulnerability, a level of feeling emotional feeling that is uncomfortable, right? That will what? Create some narratives, or that will trigger some narratives in us, but we keep showing up and we keep stretching and we keep expanding. Why? Because we want to teach the brain that this is safe. This is the life I desire. This is the person I'm becoming. This is the script I'm writing for my life, right? And I'm going to stand in the gap, right? And I'm not standing in that gap alone. I'm standing in that gap with my divine, right? With the divine part of me, right? And with all of the individuals that divinity has sent to support me. All right. All right, so here's the real focus: the inner narrative, our purpose, and our personal intervention. All right. All right, because you're still telling stories based on your survival, and that is the root cause right here, right? Because a lot of times we're still telling our stories based on survival, and it's time to speak from your power and not your past. Why am I doing this session? Because I know what it's like to outgrow your old identity but still speak to yourself like you're stuck in it. All right. You've outgrown your old identity, but you're still speaking to yourself like you are, like you're that person, and you're not. All right. Because so many of us have been narrating our lives from wounds we've already healed, you guys. All right, you already healed that. You've already grown past that. You know that, right? So these scripts of survival, these scripts of shame, these scripts of smallness, they no longer match who you're becoming. But for some reason, your language is still narrating from that space. All right, you're not in that space, but your language is, which brings that back to you. And you're like, why do I still feel stuck in the same thing? Because you haven't adjusted your language. All right. And because evolution or true elevation doesn't just require new habits, you guys. It really requires this new inner narrative. All right. Because I've lived the shift. I've walked many of my clients through the shift, and I felt the tension, and I saw the tension between the past that's familiar and the future that is calling each and every one of us. All right. And I've learned that rewriting your script isn't about pretending. All right. It isn't about pretending. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the fear, beneath the pain, beneath the wound. All right. And beneath that trauma, because your voice is the voice that is creating your world today. All right. And if you want to rise, right, you have to stop repeating stories that were written in pain and really start rewriting these stories, and speak from your power. All right. All right. If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. And good morning. It's Self Validation Friday. It's Self Validation Friday, you guys. And I'm excited about this conversation because it's all about remembering who you are. We are ending this series. I mean, we're ending another series, you guys. Let me see. So we're on Elevate. So this is Rise. I started off with the Lemon series. We did that. We did Seize Your Life last month, right? Seizing your life, seizing control of your life with the plan. That was in April. In March, we did a series. In February, we did a series. So we're wrapping up halfway through the year. I am so excited to close out another life lesson, right? It's started this journey, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get on and talk, every morning. And each series, I think, is just growing on each other. And so I'm excited about that. All right. So our disclaimer for this morning is this session offers insight, but we know real transformation begins when you choose to challenge and replace this inner critic. All right. If you're ready to live in alignment with your identity, don't just hear. Okay. Don't just hear what I'm saying. Apply it. Do the work. Apply it. All right. So good morning. It's Friday. Let's take our deep breath. All right. Let's come together. Breathe in. We're breathing in this power, right? This future, this person we're becoming. All right. And we're breathing out the past. Just all right. And I know that there's this desire because that's all the brain knows, right? All the brain knows is what it has experienced. All right. So it's not a bad thing that your brain wants to, use your language from the past or remembering the things from the past, right? But the other part of life is that we can't just depend on our brain. All right. Good morning, Miss April. Good morning, Mr. Whittington. Good morning, Dad. I love you so much. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So yeah, so I know that it's just natural for us to want to you know, to think about. We don't do really a lot, right? We don't do a lot. We let our hearts beat, we let our lungs breathe, right? We don't really have to do much to hear, right? I mean, when you talk, you're not really I'm not telling my hands to move. Well, my hands know to move as I'm talking because that's a part of my cadence, that's a part of my style. So I've developed this rhythm with my body where it flows how I want it to flow. So there's not a lot of effort in really being human. Okay. So let's start there. So now when it's time to become, right? It can be difficult because now I gotta do some things that I gotta put some effort in. Good morning, Miss Jackie, and happy Friday to you too. Happy Friday to you too. Okay, so now I gotta put the effort in because what I've been doing, it's been effortless, right? I get hungry, I go feed myself, right? My body gets thirsty, I give it water, right? But there's a point where life becomes mundane or I get unhappy and I'm just discontent. And now I got to put the effort in. So, although my narrative wants to bring up the old and what I've been through, the adult me, the present me, the divine me has to step in and parent that and say, no, we're not going to go back. It's only forward from here, right? And then that parent you has to feel that, right? Similar to when you're parenting your kids and you're saying something and you don't really know, but you're being hopeful, right? So you have to, in a sense, rise above the effortlessness of being human and really start to activate a different part of you, right? To allow the part of you to become that is there, right? That is there waiting for your permission to break through, to evolve, to grow. And then you have to be patient enough to allow it to rise, to allow it to, back in the day, my grandma used to make the best bread, right? This yeast, but she put yeast in it. And we used to have to wait overnight, right? So she would knead the dough and all of that, but she couldn't bake the bread right away, right? She had to kind of sit and the bread had to rise, right, from this yeast in it before she can put it in. And we have to wait, right? There's a period where we have to wait, right, for this evolution, for this change to kind of come. And in that waiting, our mind can play tricks on us, right? We can say some things to us that can make us doubt. And that's why we have to have faith. All right. That's why we have to have faith. All right. So again, good morning, right? We breathe in, we breathe out. Let's get present in our bodies. All right. With our feet on the floor, feeling our feet on the floor, up our legs. Okay. Feeling our butts in the seats. Hey, if we're coming off a third shift, we're laying down. Okay. Feeling our bodies in the bed. If we're just waking up, feeling our bodies. If we're at work, though, feeling our butts on the seat or our legs, just getting active in our bodies this morning. Okay. All right. Taking a breath in, okay, up our spine, recognizing all of the nerves up our spine, just being present, thanking our bodies on this morning, letting our bodies know I love you and I thank you for holding me all of these years, okay? Our rib cage that's protecting our organs, our lungs, our hearts, just bringing some attention to that, right? Our intestines, right? These are the things that we don't even have to do anything, right? The body is doing that work, okay? So we're just recognizing these 750 trillion cells on this morning, all right? Our shoulders, feeling the shoulders and the weight just kind of lift off of those because we tend to carry a lot of weight, okay, on our shoulders. So let's kind of feel that kind of lift off of us no matter what's going on, right? We know we right here in this present moment and we know we okay right now, okay? Now we may step out this moment and have some stuff we got to address, or something happened right before this moment. But in this moment, you okay, all right? Down your arms, activating your hands, okay? Up your necks, your mouth, your nose, your eyes. around your ears, right? Just soften your ears and how you hear today, all right? Top of our heads, our biggest organ, which is our skin, okay? All right, just thanking our skin for doing what it do. If we feel a little tight again, let's just push out our aura, right? Just getting a little big, right? And if we're feeling like we're absorbing too much, right? Too many people's problems, too many other people's thoughts and what they think, right? Just bringing it in and focusing on ourselves this morning. Drop a word in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling on this morning. All right. Good morning. How are you feeling this morning? I'm feeling good. Okay. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling active. I'm feeling yeah, I'm feeling good because we're coming up on the end of this season of Rise. And every time a season happens, I woke up this morning, I'm like, wow, we're wrapping up another series, right? And that just feels good to be able to complete that. All right. How are you feeling on this morning? All right. Listen, this session is for you if you consistently second guessing yourself, struggling with imposter syndrome, and stuck in narratives that no longer really reflect who you're becoming. All right. Listen, the person who has outgrown your own narrative, and you've outgrown your own narrative because you've done the work, but you still hear the voice of your past telling you who you used to be, right? You've grown, but your self-talk hasn't caught up to this person that you are now, all right? To that leader, to that professional, or to that, to that healer, to the person that can speak life into other people, right? You support others with strength and clarity, but struggle to affirm yourself with that same conviction, all right? You're shifting roles professionally and personally, and need an internal identity to align with your evolving identity. Listen, a lot of us are leaders, professionals, and healers. Like you speaking in other people's life. You're the person that people call when they get in trouble. You're the person that people talk to and look up to when things are going wrong, right? But you struggle to speak that same conviction into yourself. All right, this session is for you. All right, and to the one who's healing from this survival-based identity, right? You've learned to function in survival. And again, when I'm talking about survival-based living, it is truly like uh we have a you have a pizza, all right? And you got 8 slices of pizza and you thinking, how am I gonna make this 8 slices work? And I gotta feed 16 people. All right. And you really like, okay, maybe I need to cut these 8 slices up into, 2, or, everybody ain't gonna be able to eat, right? Just very survival based, right? That is a survival based thinking. And thriving is, okay, how can I get more pizzas, right? It's solution oriented. Like, okay, there is a Pizza Hut. Like, I can go, how can I be resourceful? How can I use my assets to go make sure that everybody eats, right? I'm not just focusing on what I have, right? I know that there's more to come. All right. So you've learned to function in survival, being the strong one, being the dependable one, being the fixer, right? But now you're ready to live from peace, not pressure, right? Not pressure to be that one thing, right? Be the strong one, be the dependable one, be the fixer, right? You don't want to carry those roles anymore. All right. And then the overthinker and the quiet achiever, all right, the one that's minimizing your growth, struggles to speak from confidence, and often plays small to really keep others comfortable. All right. There's more in you. All right. There's more in you, but you need the language to live it out. All right. You need the language to live it out. This session is for you, and this whole series has been for you. And just to the person that's becoming, all right, you're not who you was. All right. You're not who you was, but not quite who you're becoming. All right. You're not quite who you're becoming. You're in this, what we call this middle ground. All right. And you're ready to speak your truth. All right. Not from trauma, but from this real place of becoming. All right. This session is for you. All right. So our powerful quote for today is, speak to yourself like you're becoming someone you respect. All right. Miss Jackie said, peace, not pressure. Yes, peace, not pressure. I think that when we carry these roles, Miss Jackie, Grand Rising, Miss Kim, I think that when we, Miss K. James, I think it's Miss K. James of Grand Rising, I think that when we carry these roles, being the fixer, being the problem solver, being the dependable one, there is a pressure that comes with that, right? And it's not a peaceful thing, because it's like, oh, I need to do this, right? It's like you feel pressure to do it. And it's like, no, we don't want to do that. You're ready to live from peace and not from that pressure. Absolutely. All right. So again, our powerful quote for this morning is speak to yourself like you're becoming someone you respect. All right. Like you're becoming someone that you respect. Remember that he who begun a work, our biblical verse, he that begun a good work in you will carry it out. You're not finished. You're becoming. So you can speak to yourself, no matter what your past has been, you can speak to yourself like someone you respect, even if you've done some things. Okay. Right. Because when you start speaking to yourself like someone you respect, then you start to feel different about yourself. Right. And then you can start living from the person you're becoming and not from what you've done. All right. And the more you bring the past into your future, the more it stays with you. All right. But the more you focus on your future, the less the past stays with you. All right. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. All right. And so the more you focus on your future and the becoming and nurturing this life, right, that's evolving, that's growing, right, and you stop thinking about the leaves that fell on the ground, right, but you thinking about the leaves that's still here and how to preserve those and grow more, right, then that's going to create a totally different experience than if you're like, man, I lost 5 leads. How do I don't want to lose no more. I done lost too much. That's just going to create a whole different experience inside of you. All right. All right. I want to talk about some things just about this series that I probably wasn't able to integrate. So one, integration, or I wasn't able to embody, but I think that it's important for you to know. One, integration does not equal inactivity. All right. So you may feel that you're doing nothing, right? That you're doing nothing and that you're not journaling daily or hitting your goals or doing these big steps. But listen, integration is still sacred in stillness when the seeds are taking root. All right. I think that we get so stuck. What I'm trying to say is I think that we get so stuck in doing mode, right? In doing that we don't give ourselves time in being, right? And being, and we keep telling ourselves that we are doing nothing. I remember I used to date people, for example, I used to date people, and the guy would say stuff to me like, I just enjoy being with you and we're doing nothing. And I'm like, but we are doing something, You know what I mean? We're spending time together, right? It's just different type of time. Like we're actually being present. We're actually communicating. We're actually, and it would just be like, but we're doing nothing. And it's like, no, stop saying that. You are doing something. All right. You're being awareness, right? You're bringing things to the forefront, right? You're noticing stuff. That is doing something, but it's a very different something than the hustle and bustle that you're used to, than the performance that you're used to, right? There's a stillness, there's a sacred stillness in the doing, in the awareness, in the being that's still as so powerful. All right. And um we cannot dismiss that. Okay. All right. If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat. So again, I want to give that example. When I date people, they're like, I'm just enjoying you and we're doing nothing, but we are doing something. We're having conversations. We are, becoming aware. We're doing stuff. It's just not the big stuff. It's just not the stuff, the performative stuff. It's just more, just subtle stuff, walks and just very subtle stuff, but we are doing something, right? But people think that that's doing nothing, and that is so powerful, and a lot of times it's way more powerful than the big stuff. All right, because that's where the foundation is. And so when we're on this road of transformation, you can think that it feels like I'm not doing anything, like I'm just I'm journaling, or I'm just sitting here breathing, and I'm feeling my body, and it's just like I just feel like I'm doing nothing. And it's like, yeah, and that's the work, and that's the patience, and it's powerful. Okay, so integration does not equal inactivity. You're integrating in those moments of stillness you're integrating, you're allowing your brain to catch up. All right. Number two, your nervous system needs safety to embrace growth. All right. So without safety, again, you hear me say this. Miss Kim James said, that's good. Thank you. Good morning, Kareem. Good morning, Kareem. Um, so again, with your nervous system needs safety to embrace growth. So without safety, guess what? The body will resist even the most inspiring change. All right. So what this means, rest is strategy. All right. So rest is that thing we're talking about, doing nothing. Oh, that's something though, because I need to rest to allow my body to what, download. At some point, you have to cut your phone off, right? Why are you cutting? And it will make you cut it off if you don't, right? So it can upgrade, or your computer will say, okay, when you shut down tonight, do you want me to do the upgrades before I shut down? Right? Because the computer realized that before I can do anything, like, the system has to be shut down. So again, rest is a strategy at this point. Like, I'm going to take strategic naps. Like, I'm sleeping 8 hours because I know that I've taken in a lot of information and I need that rest, right? So that my brain can do what it needs to do so that I can accelerate. Okay. All right. Slowness is sacred. All right. So, again, that live at your own pace type of thing. Like, I'm not in a race. Like, I'm understanding how nature works now, and that, there is an element that comes with this slowness that is teaching me, that is allowing me to, enjoy the journey and not just focus on the destination. All right. And then familiarity isn't always alignment, you guys. It's often just trauma, in the suit. All right. So again, your nervous system needs safety to embrace growth. So, what is that safety? Like, using rest as a strategy, slowing down. All right. Seeing it slowing down so that your brain, so your nervous system can really catch up. Okay. And then understanding that familiarity um, isn't always alignment just because it makes me comfortable. Sometimes that's just trauma. Okay. Suit it up. All right. So I want you to think about, what truth are you rushing past because sitting with it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And so many of us want to do that, right? We want to bump out of a rush past a lot of our truths because they don't feel comfortable. All right. I was working with a client on yesterday. And so she said, I'm the type of person, you tell me something and it take me 5 to 7 days, 5 to 7 business days to get back with you. And the reason why is because I need to think about every way that I can say this to the person, right? And be prepared for their response. Okay. And so we walked through that, so she's the 5 to 7 days. And a lot of people do this, the 5 to 7 days before she actually says something. And then when she finally does say something, guess what? She still shuts down. Right. And so it was very powerful for us to walk through that. But the whole part was that she was trying to control the outcome. All right. She was trying to rush past a feeling. Okay. So this 5 to 7 days was her bypassing the truth. And the truth was that this person was going to be uncomfortable about what she had to say. And so let's just start there. Okay. So the person going to be uncomfortable. Let's start there. Now what? All right. Because it's nothing that you're going to do to bypass that. You can't say it in the tone. You're not going to be able to say it soft enough or gentle enough to make this person feel comfortable with the words that's about to come out your mouth. All right. So let's start with, okay, they're going to get mad. Now what? All right. That's when I say, what truth are you rushing past because sitting with it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable, right? A lot of us are trying to control the other person's feelings, right? Or control our own feelings, right? And so we're bumping past some truths. All right. All right. If that makes sense, put a 2 in the chat. Number 3, give new voice practice time. All right. Give new voice practice time. Listen, new self-talk, new beliefs, and new behaviors, they don't just show up polished, you guys. All right. I was speaking with another client on yesterday, and she was like, I just feel so excited when I get off the phone with you. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna say that. And then it's time to say it. And I just can't say it. And I was like, right. You know why? Because you haven't practiced it, right? So in this season, it's about courage for you, right? What you're hearing me say in our modeling, right? I'm role modeling for you, but I'm modeling confidence. I'm confident in that. You need courage, and so I had to apologize to her because we hadn't had that conversation, but the difference between courage and confidence. And I typically would take my clients through that, So a lot of you need to understand that this new voice needs practice time, which is why we do the coaching labs and Project Life, right? It's so that you can practice, right? What you preach, practice this person you're becoming, right? Before you expose this individual to the world, all right? Because your mind is going to be like, don't say it, right? So again, give the new voice practice time. Listen, your job, okay, so again, new self-talk, new beliefs, new behaviors, they don't just show up polished. Listen, they show up awkward, inconsistent, and quiet, and that's okay. That's okay. Your job isn't to master this new voice today, okay? It's to give it the mic long enough. It's to give it the mic long enough to be heard over the old one. So you need to say this thing and be this thing and do this thing long enough that it gets louder than the old voice, all right? That it ends up replacing it, all right? Or at least bumping up against it strong enough where you're hearing the two. All right. Listen, faith isn't the absence of fear. You've heard me say this before. It's movement with trust, especially in this stage of transforming, right? Listen, our scriptures this week is Romans 12:2 and Philippians 1:6, which affirm this truth that becoming isn't instant. It's a layered process. It's an evolution. So I want you to know that you're not late. You're learning. You're not behind. You're building. Okay. And that faith isn't the absence of fear. And so many of us are waiting for fear to leave, right, before we actually move, because we have been told that if that fear is false evidence appearing real, and it is false evidence appearing real, but it's not something that, especially at this stage, that you're going to remove, right? We just move with the fear. You just go with the feeling. You go with the angst, right? And I always say fear is like is like a coin, right? It's too, so it could be excitement that you're feeling too. But if you haven't been in a relationship with excitement, you wouldn't know what excitement felt like. So you would just default and say that this was fear anyway, right? But you could be excited to have this new conversation. Everything in you could be excited, but because you don't know, or you haven't had a relationship with excitement, or you haven't felt excitement, or you haven't named it excitement, every time you feel that feeling, you say, I'm fearful or anxious. Okay. All right. So we're going to move with that emotion. All right. All right. So again, you're not late, you're learning, you're not behind, you're building. All right. And then the final invitation to you is be seen by you. All right. Be seen by you. Listen, many of you have spent years seeking validation, seeking applause, and seeking affirmation from other people. All right. From other people. And I hope that what you recognized in this week conversation isn't just about being seen, but it's about being seen by you. It's about you looking in the mirror in your truth, and seeing your truth, and seeing your evolution, and seeing your emerging power. All right. Because that's so important. And when you can see you, and you can start forgiving you, and you can start having compassion for you, and you can start, you know, embracing you and rising you, and loving on you and forgiving on you, guess what? I ain't saying 100% of the people around you gonna do that, all right? But I'm saying you're gonna experience more of that in your engagements than less of it, all right? Because there's no 100% of anything, right? Even the strongest thing is like 99.99%, right? That's still that 0.01% that this Lysol can't kill, right? So nothing is 100%. But I tell you, if you start to love on you, you start to trust you, you start to build you, you will start to integrate that process, and you start to what? Give yourself the rest that you need, and start using rest as the strategy, and you start to, slow down, right? And allow your nervous system to catch up with what you're doing. Eventually, you will start to see people respond to you differently. All right. They're in people, places, and things. All right. Start to respond to you. And the things And the places could be money, opportunities, and stuff like that. All right, if that makes sense, put a heart in the chat. Yesterday I talked about the difference between I was talking about rituals, right? And it kind of, the word ritual, actually, it triggers me, right? And it only triggers me because I grew up in a home where my grandparents were Jehovah Witness, right? We kind of, my mom, we studied every type of belief in the Bible or whatever. And this word ritual was always like, I don't know, connected to some type of maybe like demonic thing, or like, just something that was like not of God. Okay. But I wanted to talk about and started to really introduce this word ritual into the life lessons, because I do think that we need to start building better rituals in our life. All right. And I wanted to follow up with that conversation today because I want you to know what the difference, or I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to explain the difference between a ritual and a habit. And I think that a habit is something that we do. All right. So hold on one second. A habit is something that we do. All right. So first we build our habits and our habits make us. So, once I do something enough, consciously or unconsciously, I'm going to build a habit because that's what the brain does. All right. Um, but there is something called a ritual. All right. And I feel like the ritual is in the intention. All right. So it's why I'm doing this thing. All right. So when you think about a habit, I'm not really thinking about the why behind my behavior. So you know, if I go into a house and I flip on a light and I flip on that light long enough, my brain is just, I'm gonna eventually stop thinking about flipping on this light. My brain just gonna do it because it's learned how to do that. That's why that what makes the body so powerful, because first we make our habits and then our habits make us. Now, if we take this a step further and we start thinking about rituals, so then what would be the ritual that I'm doing? So again, using rest as a strategy would be the ritual, because now it's not that I'm just sleeping because I'm tired, right? It's that I am getting my rest, right? So it's that I'm setting an intention before I go to sleep to upload or to download, right? So I'm it's in the energy that I'm actually doing the thing that I'm doing. Okay. All right. And I wanted to make that distinction. So when I say that we need to start creating not just goals, but like creating these rituals in our life, it's in the intention that I'm moving my body. Is, why am I drinking this water? What am I doing? And that's going to really accelerate your growth because you have this intention, all right, that is behind the behavior, right? That's a little bit more concrete and intentional. All right, if that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. All right, and if you're a part of the life lessons, I'm going to drop something in the Elevating Life group, I'm going to drop something in there for you. All right. Okay. So, where was I at on here? Okay. And then, so yeah, so see yourself. So that's the ritual. All right. So when you're looking in the mirror, I bring this up because a lot of us are not seeing our truth, our evolution, and our emerging power. And what I'm saying is that I think that we need to make that a ritual. So when I look in the mirror, I want to see me, right? I'm just not brushing my teeth or washing my face, and I'm barely looking at myself, but I want to take a moment, a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds to just look at me, right? And make that a ritual, a part of my day, every day, that I see me, right? I'm not just glancing over me. I'm not just in the motion of it, but I'm pausing and I'm looking at my eyes, or I'm looking at my nose, or I'm looking at my lips, right? And that's the ritual part, because I'm intentional about that. And I'm going to do that every morning. If that makes sense, put a 3 in the chat for me. All right. Listen, a woman in our life left once said that I kept introducing myself as the version that I had outgrown. That hit because it's what so many of us do. We downplay our growth so we don't disrupt what other people comfort zones. All right. Or our own comfort zone. All right. So here's our mirror moment. I want you to pause and I want you to write. All right. Write I want you to think about what story are you still rehearsing that no longer serves you. All right. What story have you been rehearsing that no longer serves you? All right. Listen, I want you to understand that integration requires repetition. All right. So a mindset shift don't stick after one insight. All right. So you need to repeat this stuff over and over again. So mindset shifts don't just stick after one insight. They take root through rituals. All right. Through that daily activity. Through so I want to encourage you to build daily anchors, like when we do those affirmations, set an intention to really just let that download or journal or breath work or something. But this is not about being perfect. It's just about being present. And I think that that's the difference. You know, if you've ever had to rewind the show, right? You're listening, but you're not present. So you hear it, but you didn't hear it. You know, you heard the words, but you're like, wait, let me rewind that because you wasn't present. And then you get present and then you hear it, right? Know that there's a part of us just by default that's present, but not present. And we have to, again, put the extra effort in just to get present in our life throughout our days, okay? Just taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day to step out of autopilot and just to get present, just to feel our feet, to take a conscious breath, to tell some person, not I love you, not just because that's what I'm used to saying when I walk out the door, but I'm gonna feel that love today. You know, I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna feel it, right? I'm gonna make it, yeah, I'm gonna set an intention behind that when I tell you that today. Okay. All right. Listen, powerful identity equals peaceful boundaries. Listen, many of you still equate worth to overgiving. All right. So I want you to see that embracing your identity means saying yes to alignment and no to emotional leakage. What do I mean? Is that a powerful identity really does help you to allow your yes to be yes and your no to be no. You know, it really does allow for you to have peaceful boundaries. But when you haven't embraced this identity, or this identity is still becoming and you're unsure about it, then it does create, the part of you that wants to create boundaries. It becomes difficult. All right, so you have to embrace this identity that you're becoming, and allow your yes to become out of alignment. And that's why you have to know what your values are in this person that's becoming, why this person is becoming, so you can embody that, and so your yes can come out of alignment, right? And know to this emotional leakage, right? So you can have no to your emotional leakage. All right. Listen, your becoming will cost you a lot of approval. Okay. Your becoming will cost you a lot of approval. Embracing expansion often means being misunderstood. All right. You may lose proximity. You may lose proximity with people, but you will gain purpose in this life. You will gain purpose in the moments. You will gain even purpose in relationships. All right. So this truth really prepares you for the emotional cost of growth. And I think that we don't think about the emotional cost of growth because collectively, we don't want to lose. Or when we have lost and it has been so painful that the brain just don't want to lose anymore. And so when we think about growth, right, know that there is a cost, right? There is a cost to your becoming. All right. So your becoming will cost you the approval of others, right? This approval that you fought so hard for all these years to get them to like you, to get them to see you, to get them to validate you. And now you like, listen, I'm tired of being a fixer to problems. I'm just ready to say no. And that may cost your approval. All right. But know that you're okay. All right. You're gonna get through that moment. All right. That's gonna be a bump in the road, but you're gonna be okay. All right. Another thing I want you to know is that you're not starting over, you're just starting to align. Again, I want to say this. You're not starting over. You're just starting to align. So many people feel like they have to reset when it's time to transform their life. And that is the number one thing that's stopping so many people from doing this work, is because it's like, I don't want to start all over again. I don't want to start all over again. It's like, but guess what? You're not starting over. You're not starting over. You're just going to start to align now. So we're going to take all your information and we just going to put it together like a pieces of the puzzle. So you're not starting over. Listen again, most people fear the reset that comes with transformation, all right? But I want you to know that you're never going to go back to zero. You're not going back to zero. That's impossible, right? Because you've experienced too much. You're too powerful. You're too amazing. You too resilient to go back to zero. You have so much content, so much information, so much input, right? That you're going to use. So you're not going back to zero. All right. You're going to, but you are going to start from truth. All right. From embodiment and from clarity. All right. All right. So you're not starting over, you guys. You're starting to align. All right. And with that being said, I do want you to know that this next journey for you is more spiritual work. It's divine work, right? It's not self work. All right. So rewriting this inner script is not like this mental exercise. It's actually a divine act. All right. It's this divinity in you. And again, when I say divinity in you, it is your ability to transcend the limitations. What are those limitations? Any limitation that has been put on you as a human being, there's a divine part of you that can what transcend that. Remember that the God in you is co-authoring, right, this new narrative with you. So not just cheering from the sidelines. All right. All right. I want you to embrace this next season. All right. I want the embrace season is the is to expand. All right. So this week may have felt quiet. Okay. It may not have been as powerful as the other ones, or may have been more, I don't want to say like as powerful, but I guess it wasn't as, I think it spoke to more of the inner energy or the emotional side. All right. All right. Like integration, reflection, and stillness. But this is not about regression, you guys. It is like the seeds for your next chapter. All right. All right. It's kind of like the cocoon, the butterfly transforming in the caterpillar transforming into the butterfly. All right. All right. Last but not least, your future voice needs your future needs a new voice. All right. So this week is not just about who you've been, it's about giving your future, right? The future version of yourself a voice, a note, and a visible now. And that is the work, right? Okay, that is the work. If you don't know this already, a big part of this project is to get you to unanchor yourself from your past, throw out throw out a dream that's so big into your future, anchor it, right? It's kind of like, well, I guess what this came up in my spirit is, when you climb a mountain, right? When you climb a mountain, you're always anchoring yourself so you don't fall. You're always anchoring yourself so you don't fall. And this is in my imagination, and I know that this is not how you do it, but it's kind of like you're throwing that anchor up, right? And then pulling yourself up, and you're throwing and you're pulling, you're throwing and you're pulling, right? And that's how I see growth happening. All right. Versus looking back, we're evolving and growing and moving forward. All right. Listen, our identity is not built in moments of survival. It's revealed in spaces of truth. All right. If your inner critic has the mic, your future doesn't get a voice. All right. You've evolved. But if you keep speaking from your wounded self, all right, you'll miss the wisdom that you've gained. We all have a wounded self. I mean, I have a wounded self. My mentors, the most smartest people I know have wounded selves, right? But the thing about it is to be aware enough of, am I speaking from my wound or am I speaking from my wise person? All right. And if you haven't developed the wise person yet, or have an idea of the wise person or that person you're becoming, because you haven't sat and had that dream, DM me. Let's get on a consultation. So at least you can do something like that, right? Invest in yourself, get a session where you can, do a blueprint of what your future self is. So you can start distinguishing, okay, am I speaking from my wound or from my wise person? All right, listen, you've evolved again, but if you keep speaking from your own self, you will miss the wisdom that you've gained. One of my clients stopped saying I'm behind and started saying I'm becoming, right? Simple, very simple. She stopped saying I'm behind and started saying I'm becoming. Guess what? Her anxiety dropped and her clarity rose. All right. Listen, studies show replacing negative self talk with neutral or positive language actually increases problem solving and resilience by, guess what, 30%. This is what you want, isn't it? I know this is what you want. All right. So we have to start shifting the language. And how we're going to do that is with through this self-validation or working with our inner critic. All right. So we know that the it and stopping now is all about identity and self-talk. And within that self-talk is this inner critic. So I do want to talk about essentials for self-talk and becoming. Listen, your self-talk is your script. The way you speak to yourself. The way you speak to yourself determines how you show up in the world. If you want a new life, you need new language. And again, you heard me say this. If you are struggling with that, go to my website, SheilaLittle.com/affirmations, and you can get that 30-day affirmation challenge, and it'll send you an affirmation to your email, and that can be some new language for you. Pick up a book, do an audio book, right? Read, all right? I know even if you're on social media, and a lot of you guys want to just rush past the caption, but start reading the captions, right? I know that it's like, oh, they just wrote too much and their mind just want to run past it, but start reading the caption. Take your time and just read through the caption, because as you read, guess what? It's going to adjust your language. All right. Because if that person wrote, I'm talking about a person that actually, let me preface this. This is where you start. If you I had to chuckle on the inside. If you read a caption and they have periods and, commas and stuff like that, like it's actually narrated to you, okay? Because it can be frustrating trying to read and trying to understand what a person is saying if they're not punctuating and doing the things that should be done. But read the captions or pick up a journal, or when you're in the, just read an article or something like that, something to expand your language, all right? Listen, you don't owe your past an explanation. I'm going to end the Rise series again with you don't owe your past an explanation. You heard me say that earlier this week, and I want to stamp it here. All right. Growth means honoring your evolution. You are not required. You are not required to justify who you're becoming to those attached to who you were. If somebody, some people, place, or thing, even you, is not allowing you to move forward because of something that you did in the past, then like that is holding you back. Now, I always say this. I think that people really want atonement, maybe, versus forgiveness. Like, it's like, I want you to do something about what you did to me, right? Like, because even if you say, I forgive you, or, I'm sorry. If you say I'm sorry, it's like the person wants more than just an apology. So maybe they want you to atone for what you did or be punished for it. Whatever that is, it's the past. You can't change it. And that's the big part of forgiveness. Listen, forgiveness is when Oprah said forgiveness is giving up the hope that anything could have been done different. You cannot be ever repaid for, even if somebody stole from you, right? Just say they stole money from you. They gave you the money back. The emotional pain, though, that it caused, they can't pay that back to you, right? So forgiveness is so huge because it's really giving up. It's really saying, listen, I'm just going, in a sense, I'm filing chapter 13, right? Like, you can't pay me back this debt. It can't be paid back. So I'm just going to reconcile it and call it, all right. And now I'm going to move forward with a different lesson. So again, you don't owe your past an explanation. Growth means honoring your evolution. You are not required to justify who you're becoming to those attached to who you were. All right. All right. Listen, another thing, validation starts within. So external affirmations is nice. All right. But if your confidence depends on it, guess what? It's not rooted. So self-validation is the soil for sustained belief. All right. Self-validation is the soil for sustained belief. And you got to get to the point where you're validating yourself again. And that's where that ritual comes in of just seeing yourself, saying, hey, I see you, I love you, you're good, right? And just start dropping these little breadcrumbs in your spirit about who you are every day, every moment. Okay. And I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. Okay. And those are little breadcrumbs and self-validation things that you can do for yourself. All right. Listen, fear often disguises itself as familiar information. Well, fear often, I need to stop doing that. Fear often disguises itself as familiarity. Listen, that voice urges you to stay safe is often just comfort with the known. All right. What's unknown isn't unsafe, it's just unpracticed. Let me say that again. What is unknown isn't unsafe, you guys. It's just unpracticed. It's just something you haven't done. But it don't mean it's not safe. All right. But your mind is saying it's not safe. And we have to start saying, no, it's not that it's not safe. It's just that I haven't practiced that. So let me start practicing. Yeah, let me start practicing that, especially if that's a part of the person I'm becoming. Um, Old stories will try to hijack your new season. Just be prepared for that. Listen, survival narratives taught you how to shrink, but healing invites you to speak from strength, not fear. Okay. So please know that these old stories will try to hijack your new season. All right. And so just be aware of that. And again, this is why having support in your transition and just having a team from this day forward, always just having some type of support is going to be so critical to your evolution. All right. Listen, you're not behind, you're becoming. Okay. You're not behind, you're becoming. I smile when I say that because I really want you to know that you're right where you're supposed to be. I know, I know, I know. I even be having to tell myself this, like, Sheila, you right where you're supposed to be, and sometimes that I will get, caught up in it's like, no, but you're right where you're supposed to be. Listen, every day you choose to speak truth to your fear, you align more deeply into this future self, right? In the acceleration part is just it starts to happen so fast. All right. All right. Listen, inner talk creates outer reality. So the identity you embody belongs. I mean, the identity you embody actually begins in your inner dialogue. So speak the version of you that you're walking into, not the one that you're walking out of. Okay. Which is really what today is about. Listen, speaking the version of you that you're walking into and not the one you're walking out of. And again, you may need new language for that. So picking up a book, picking up, and even if you want to start off with like children's books that are empowering, right? Just to give you language. It's not about how thick the book is. It's not, we got to stop that, right? It's just about getting new language and new perspective on things. All right. Because I do feel like my next book that I'm gonna write is gonna be more of a like a kid, like it's gonna look like a kid's book, like a cartoonish book. So, all right, listen, inner talk creates outer reality. Listen, the identity you embody begins in your inner dialogue. So speak the version of you that you're walking in. Oh, I just said that. Okay, belief shapes behavior. So when you believe you're worthy, capable, and called, guess what? You start acting like it. All right. So your beliefs shape your behavior. So when you believe you're worthy, capable, and called, you'll start acting like it. So new actions actually begin with new beliefs. All right. All right. And growth is not betrayal. All right. It feels like it. It definitely feels like betrayal. It feels like it, especially when you are the go-to person and you're looking out for everybody else and you have deemed yourself the one that can take the burden of everybody else's problems, and you're not consciously saying that, but in somewhere in you feel like you're the fixer and you're the problem solver. So if you grow, how is that going to affect everybody else? And you're trying to in some way mitigate that, right? You're trying to stop it from affecting them in a negative way, and you're not realizing by you trying to stop it from affecting your growth, you're trying to not allow your growth, your expansion to affect other people in a negative way, or for them not to perceive it in a negative way. That's actually affecting your growth. Okay. All right. And at some point, you have to understand that growth is not betrayal, right? And that they are going to feel away. Let's start there. All right. And they will come around. But you need to put them oxygen mask on you and get what you need, because that is why you're feeling the dis-ease that you're feeling. All right. Listen, you're not abandoning anyone by growing. You're simply refusing to abandon yourself anymore. That's it. All right. You're just refusing to abandon yourself any longer. All right. And then last but not least, God isn't asking you to stay small. All right. Again, according to Philippians 1:6, God is in you still working. So that means it's okay to be unfinished, but not to be what? Silent. Right. So you have to be writing this internal dialogue, or writing this new script every day, I would say. All right, let's get into our biblical wisdom. Again, we're going to end this week with those two verses, Romans 12:2, and then Philippians 1:6. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform. What? Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Simply put, do not conform to outdated version of yourself that were built in fear. All right, like listen, this verse isn't about changing how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. Okay, we're just going to wrap it up with that. The patterns of the world often teaches us to define ourselves by what we've been through, what we've been told, in our pains and our labels and our traumas and roles we play to survive. But the God that dwells within us says that transformation is internal, ongoing, and rooted in that mindset of renewal. Remember, I gave that story earlier, just a full circle moment about, the way you see yourself is basically you touch somebody else uncomfortableness, or you touch somebody else's trauma, and then they project it onto you that you should have known better, you should have said that different, you should have did this, which made you feel inadequate, right? It made you feel like like you were inadequate or it wasn't enough. Okay, so again, the patterns of the world often teach us to define ourselves by what we've been taught about ourselves, and what we've been told about ourselves, what about our pain, the labels and traumas and roles, right? But the God within you is saying, listen, transformation is internal, ongoing, and rooted in this mindset of renewal. All right. So this is the mind renewal moment, right? So rewriting the script means that you no longer conform to the mental patterns of fear, self-doubt, or shame. Instead, you let your thoughts align with the truth of who you are becoming, you guys, and you intentionally interrupt survival scripts with rooted truths. Okay. All right. And then Philippians 1:6, he who begun a good work in you will carry it out to completion. Just means that your process is sacred and still unfolding. And that's the part that you need to know. And I think that before we go any further into this, I do think that if we can just breathe and know that life is still unfolding. Because I think that when things happen, we think it's an absolute end, and we experience it in that way. And we have to understand that life is still unfolding. It ain't the end yet. I remember I was on Jessica Reed's show, and she said, they count me out, and my story ain't over yet. Right. And you have to know your story is not over yet. Right. No matter what is happening, it's still being written. Right. And either you can make this part, this season, or this last season, or whatever that season is, be the fullness of your story, because that's all you can focus on. Or you can step back and say, okay, my story still is unfolding. And let me get curious. Matter of fact, let me get so curious that I'm about to get a pencil and a paper, and I'm about to be the main character, and I'm about to write. I'm about to write this script. I'm about to help the God in me accelerate my becoming. Okay. All right. Get bold with it. Okay. Listen, again, he who began a good work in you will carry it out to completion. Listen, this isn't about arriving, it's about becoming. All right. This isn't about arriving, it's about becoming. All right. It reminds us that we're in process, and that process is what? It's holy, it's sacred. Okay. It's divine. And when you rewrite your script, right, you're not being fake, you're being faithful. And how I know you've been faithful, because the word in the Bible, in the word, it says what? Write the vision, make it plain so that any man can run with it. All right. So you have a divine responsibility to write your script. All right. Right. So faithful to, so it's not about being fake. It's about being faithful. It's about being faithful to your growth. It's about being faithful to your healing, and about being faithful to the person, right, that God has been forming all along. All right. That's just waiting for you to just have the courage to pick up a pencil and a piece of paper. You can draw it out in characters. You can write a song about it. You can, you know, just write the next moment. Or you can be courageous and write the whole what you want your life to look like. And then it's like, okay, now who do I need to be for that to happen? All right. Listen, you are not who you were. All right. And that's not a problem at all. It's a promise, right? This scripture reminds you that even when you feel unfinished, uncertain, unqualified, that divine work is in you and is always active. All right. So when you speak from power instead of your pain, guess what? You're honoring the work of the God in you. You're honoring the divinity that's still, look, that's still completing in you. All right. You not done. Right. You rising. You not done. Life is still got a lot of life to give to you, a lot of experiences. All right. So don't count yourself out. All right. All right. Everything has happened for a reason. Okay. And now it's about just collecting all that information again. You're not starting from zero. You just started from alignment now. All right. Because you done had too many experiences to start from zero. You got way too much. You too knowledgeable. You too smart. All right. All right. And you too loved. Really. And now we got to activate that. We got to activate that. And remember the law of duality, or the law of correspondence, right? If you only experience pain, then guess what? Pleasure is due to you. It's a universal law. It's the law of duality. You can't have up without down. You can't have left without right. And if you've only experienced pain and trauma, then that means that by this law, right, that pleasure is so much pleasure waiting for you. But it's not just gonna come. Like, you gotta actively participate in it. All right. And do some of this work. It kind of rise up a little bit. All right. All right. So again, the final thought, you're not trying to create a new identity. Again, you're not trying to create a new identity. You're finally giving yourself permission just to own the person that, you know, God has created you to be. Own the person that life has created, you know, in you. All right. Listen, this isn't about the God in the sky waiting for you to arrive. This is about this divinity in you, really inviting you to speak like you believe you've already becoming who you were designed to be, and understanding that each season of our life is different. You know, I have a 23-year-old son, a 20-year-old son, and a 16-year-old son. Very different person that I need to be now than when they were, you know, 5, 3, and 3 months. You know, I just seen a picture of them where my son was like 1 and the other one was like 4 and the other one was like 7. And I was like, man, so different needs and a different person, right? And then if you just look back over your life and think about the difference that life has made, and it's been times where you have felt like maybe it was over, and then you bounced up and you bounce back, because life is like the heartbeat. So what I would say at the end of this series is just find a place that you want to sit in life. Is that, do you want to sit in peace? Do you want to sit in ease? Do you want to sit in love? Right? What do you want to sit at in life? Let that be your anchor. All right. And then figure out, okay, who do I need to be to sit here? Right? To have the authority to say, you know what, I am peace. I don't need you to bring the peace because I already have it. So you can be screaming right in front of me. And I'm just like, okay, I hear you. You know, I don't feel threatened or anything. Right? Because I am peace. Like I have that. And that may take a week to get there. That may take a month to get there. It may take 10 years or 20 years. But to experience it on the journey, I think will be worth it, especially if it's something that you want. All right. All right. If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me and let's put this into practice. All right. Here's the 3 actions that I want you to take. I want you to write down one old belief and a new one you're replacing it with. All right. I want you to practice saying your belief out loud. And then I want you to choose one behavior today that aligns with it. All right. All right. And if you're into the journal prompts, here's your journal prompt. What belief are you choosing today that aligns with your future, not your fear? All right. Let me put that one on the screen for you. What belief are you choosing today that, what belief are you choosing today that aligns with your future and not your fear? Okay. All right. The affirmation for the day: I am no longer speaking from survival. I'm created from what? From power. All right. I'm created from power. Okay. Let me put that one up here. And then our intention for today. Our intention. I honor my voice as a reflection of my evolution. Listen, I honor my voice as a reflection of my evolution. That is today's intention today, and that is what we want to carry with us throughout this weekend. All right, I honor my voice as a reflection of my evolution. And your bonus challenge is: listen, I tell one trusted person the new belief that you're walking in. All right. Tell one trusted person the new belief that you're walking in today. All right. All right. And remember, this is a seed that you're planting. All right. So we got to be patient. All right. We got to know and got to have faith. All right. You just got to have faith and know that life is happening for your good. All right. So, I'm going to do that call, that challenge, and that charge. So I'm calling you today and I'm asking you, what belief are you rewriting today? All right. Your challenge is to speak from who you are becoming. And your charge for today and over this weekend is to go live your truth and go shape your life, you guys, and go shape your life. I am so happy that you were with me over this series. We start off next month with a new series in June. Hopefully that one will be just as impactful as this one has been for you. If this series and this session, was resonated with you and you're walking away with some insight today, you already know what to do. Drop a fire in the chat for me and let's celebrate our growth together. You know what I want to do? Let me see if I can do it. Let me see. Yeah, let's celebrate our growth together. Is it in here? I was gonna put this thing in here, but I don't see it. Yeah, let's celebrate our growth together. And remember, I want you to know that if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. And we know that life stands for your love of self, your interactions with others, your focus and your energy. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. I will see you on Monday. All right. For that life lesson. Till later. Have a great weekend.